Hi, my name is Ohfor. Let's finish our mod. Okay, so options. Just as a quick recap, last episode we created a backup Devouring pouch and a spell to summon it, and it lasts for 5 rounds, and then it disappears again, and thereby devouring anything you put in. So if you haven't watched that video and you're interested in how this came to be, then go watch that previous video in this series. Now, what we're left with, we have the spell, we have the functionality in place. Now we need a delivery mechanism. And what do I mean by that? Well, delivery mechanism being, being a way for characters who start a new game or whatever, or have a game in progress to get this bag or get this ability to cast this spell. So the in-game, the most common, I guess pretty much so there's 2 ways you gain spells in-game. You either get them as part of your leveling progress. So as you level, you unlock more and more spells that you can use. This is of course not all classes, but most classes. So that's one way of doing it. So in theory, we could make it so that the Conjure Backup Devouring spell would become available to everybody as a cantrip or whatever. So that's one way of doing it, and I won't be doing that. And I'll explain. Just bear with me. And the second option would be that you find a scroll in game, scroll of fireball, scroll of whatever. You probably see many of them, and then any character can pick up that scroll and use it, and thereby cast a spell. And if you're a wizard, you can even scribe it, I guess the term is, and thereby learn the spell permanently. Now this is good. It has a couple of problems. One of them being when you cast a scroll of fireball, or you cast a fireball using the scroll of fireball, then the scroll is consumed. So it wouldn't really be great for our purposes, because obviously once you have the mod installed, you're supposed to be able to summon a bag of Devouring at all times, and not only just once. So originally when I thought this through, I was like, nah, this is not a great idea. But I have done a little bit of research, and actually I feel this is the way I want to go about it. There are many preferences as to how a new spell should be introduced to the game. But by doing it as a scroll, I not only get to cover the case of how do we actually make our own spell scrolls and what can we do with them. So from a tutorial point of view, this is great. I also get a chance to discuss a little bit about how we can make this scroll available to people. Now, people who know me will know that I always distribute my mods via the tutorial chest. I've never really got into detail explaining why that is, but it's there are reasons. It's not just pure coincidence. I will have an upcoming video very shortly where I will be going deeper into where we can distribute new items, new spells, new scrolls, which vendors you could distribute it to, add it to loot tables, whatever. So that video is coming, but for right now, I'm going to be dropping it into the new scroll that we're going to make. I'm going to be dropping it into the tutorial chest, and then I will very briefly touch upon something called one-time rewards. And as the name would suggest, it's something you can reward a player with once. And the idea being, if I get everything working correctly, is that I would also award this scroll to any player entering the game, whether it's on a new save or whether it's on an ongoing game. So let's get into it. Okay, so what better place to start, since we based this whole thing off the Goodberry druid spell. I'm thinking we should probably see if we can find a scroll of Goodberry and use that as our base, because why not? It could, in theory, be any scroll, I guess, any spell scroll, but yeah. Why not just pick something that is related? So we have here, that definitely, what's this? Oh, that's the Goodberry itself, and this is the scroll. Okay. So we'll use that as our base. So we create new from selected. And then this is going to be Ohfor bag of Devouring. Summon scroll. Yeah, why not? Let's create that. And then it's time to have my usual little fight with the UI, with the newly created item. Okay, fine. So let's take a little bit of a look of what we have here. So the name obviously is going to be scroll of summon bag of Devouring. And then it would probably have a lore description as well. Oh, it's empty. Fine. If Valerian can be lazy, so can we. So we'll just leave it at that. What else can we say? So it's based off a parent root template. That is a base book scroll, whatever. Okay, scroll magic, that's fine. Nothing, no objections here. Visual resource. So we can leave all of this. There's going to be a couple of things. So it's likely going to have an icon we don't like. Because it's going to be, let's see if we can find it. Oh, obviously, yeah. So the icon would be defined on the stats for this spell. So let's take a look at the stats. So that's here. Object scroll Goodberry, magic scroll, loot scroll Goodberry. Okay, so that's all fine. This is as expected. And then let's see, value preview. What do we have here? Default, object category, magic scroll to be deleted. Interesting. Min amount, max amount, priority. That's interesting. I don't actually know what these do. So here we go. It costs an action point to use. It's an item use type scroll. So all of this is perfectly fine. It's just a matter of figuring out what spell this is used to. So there's clearly something that is not defined by the stats here, because this is very generic object data. And let's create our own version of that. So I'm going to copy the base scroll. And then I am going to go to our item. Oh, couldn't find it because there we go, object. So we need a scroll. So it's going to be Ohfor or OHF bag of Devouring, and then scroll. That's fine, and we base it off this one. And then for the GUID, we are going to grab the GUID from here. All right. So, and then let's see. I think that is pretty much all we need at this point in time. I'm just looking for the icon. I'm sure there should be an icon in here somewhere that I'm just basically missing. Oh, okay. It's going to be a legendary scroll. I don't think there are any legendary scrolls in game by default. But that's fine. And then I'll just do one more pass to see if we find an icon definition. I should really learn the column numbers, so AI, AJ, AK, etc. It would probably make my life easier. Okay, for now let's leave that, because there is one important component that is still not here, is there's nothing tying this scroll to a specific spell. So it's fine, the parent is this, and we call this is the root template, and this is the stats name, I think the term is, or technical name, or whatever. This is all fine. However, none of this links to our spell, the new spell we created. So I'm going to save that. And come on. There we go. So now save. We have a stats item. We need to point our new root template. And of course I have the usual UI challenges here, but I will win in the end. I don't know why it doesn't. There we go. So let's save that root template. And we should now be able to actually summon this up in game. If I do, however, it will most definitely spawn a goodberry, because we haven't changed that yet, and that's not what we want. So let's see what else we have here. There must be something on this root template that actually controls that, because we only have the stats and whatever. So what do we have here? Use. Here we go. So just a quick recap. I made that look easy, but that's because I cheated. I prepared in advance. Use actions. So it has the use spell use action. And then the spell ID is tied to the spell that's supposed to happen when you cast it. And then there's a little bit of fidgeting up here. So this up here basically says if the character is otherwise able to use the spell scroll target goodberry, then they will be allowed to use it, so to speak. There's something here with the use spell, and it's tied to wizard and whether it should be consumed on use. So as I talked about, this is something we can uncheck. I am a little bit. So this looks slightly different than some of the other spells. Let's actually, sorry for the confusion, but let's just take a look so I can show you what I mean. And the reason for there being differences is the fact that not all spells can be scribed, and I suspect that this is why there is a difference. If we take a look at Chromatic Orb, unfortunately I'm going to have to create a copy of it. So I'm just going to say delete me underscore and then just create a copy so we can fully explore it in our mod. So we have it here. And if we go down and take a look at the use actions, you will notice that we have use spell. So this is exactly as we were seeing before, except now it's Chromatic Orb. And then there is a learn spell, which has no conditions, and again is tied to projectile Chromatic Orb. Now I'll be very clear here. I find this extremely confusing, because I don't understand exactly what wizard is doing here. Now I've been reflecting on this. I could do some more research. I don't think it's all that important, but I think it might have to do with what spellcasting ability modifier will affect it when you cast Chromatic Orb. So it will be, if it's wizards, it's int based. If I change it to warlock or sorcerer, for instance, it would probably be charisma based. It's an interesting sort of discussion. However, that's a topic for different video. And you can see here it also has learn spell. So this is if you have the ability to learn spells, and I assume that is somehow baked into the wizard class. I don't know exactly where. But if you have that, you would be able to learn the spell, Chromatic Orb in this case, but we could also do that for our own. And then the wizard would have it permanently. Since the plan is, let's get rid of this, and then get rid of this loot scroll Chromatic Orb, because we don't really want that. Larian, a lesson in UI design, when you pop up a dialogue, for goodness sakes, show here what it is you're deleting, not just the selected items. Anyway, I can rant about the UI of this all day. So we don't really want the learning ability. However, we do want this to be our own spell. So there we go. So here we have target, Bag of Devouring, summon pouch. Perfect. So we have that. And then we do not want the spell to be, or the scroll to be consumed on use. So we now have a perpetual scroll of summon Bag of Devouring. And then the last one up here, the one I don't fully understand it, but whatever it is, I don't really want any conditions on this. Maybe I get in trouble for that, but I can't see any reason why any character should not be able to cast this. So I'm just going to clear that. And we are left with use spell, target, Ohfor, Bag of Devouring, summon pouch. Let's apply that. And then we now have 2 items. We have the pouch, which is never meant to be spawned per se. It's going to be spawned by the spell that we've created. And then we have our scroll. And I say it's time to save and then test out our hard work. So let's enter game mode. And here we have Karlak joining us today. Which is good actually, because Karlak is not a natural spellcaster, so if it works for her, it's likely to work in all cases. We need a console going, and then we need spawn item, and then and it's only showing the Bag of Devouring. It does not show. It shows the pouch, but it doesn't show the scroll, and I do suspect that is a simple case of the game simply not having realized that. So we will do a reload stats, see if that takes care of it. There we go. Go back into game mode. Hello, Karlak. And let's see if we have more luck. No, we don't. So normally at this point I restart the toolkit because this just annoys me. But let's just try. So I just did a Control R, and which reloads the game. So maybe that is what we need to get things going. I have no idea why it works the way it does. Okay, so Bag of Devouring, scroll, that did the trick. Press enter. Okay, so now we have our scroll of summon Bag of Devouring. Let's pick that up. And then let's take a look. And here we have a problem. Well, it's not a problem. I expected this. So the scroll, unfortunately in this game, it would be so wonderful if just scrolls would have an icon, and then the spell icon would be sort of superimposed on top of it. But unfortunately that's not the case. So for every single scroll in the game and every single spell that is on a scroll, there is a separate icon. And this is super annoying, which means that to fix this, I have to create a new set of icons, and these need to be not skill icons, but spell icons. No, sorry, item icons. And we need them in all 3 sizes to make that work. I have an idea of how I can maybe work my way around this, because I really, really don't want to. But if I have to, I mean, it's not going to be your problem. I'm going to be pausing the video and then having fun with Photoshop once more. But let's see. Now, more importantly, does the spell work? So there's 2 things we expect from it. We expect it to summon a bag of Devouring, and we expect it to not go away when Karlach uses it. So that's actually the most important thing here. So let's try that. Cast spell. Hello, Karlach. And it certainly does seem to be working. We have a bag of Devouring. It's on a countdown timer. We still have the scroll. So in that sense, we have great success here, because functionality-wise, the item works. The pouch appears, or the bag of Devouring appears as expected, and then hopefully in one turn it should be all gone. And there we go. And we still have that. So once you have this item in your inventory, it will just stay there forever until you get rid of it by putting it in the bag of Devouring or selling it to a vendor, whatever. I think I'm probably going to look into, I think that can be disabled relatively easily, so you don't sell this by mistake. But first we need a solution for the icon. So let's see what we can do about that. So let's leave game mode. And the idea that I have is to just pick a scroll icon that isn't necessarily from a spell scroll, because I'm lazy, and simply because it just seems to not be worth it. I would struggle quite a bit with coming up. I would need to extract, if this scroll were to look like every other scroll in the game, I would need the scroll here, background. I would need to then remove the good berry from it, and then impose my bag of Devouring icon on top of that, and then create icons from that. And while that is definitely possible, it's also, I'm not entirely sure it's worth it. Let's give it a go. Let's see what we can find otherwise. So we are in the shared icons items 2 atlas. There are quite many atlases we could use. This is of course our own atlas, the one that we created, and this is where I could add new custom icons, 3 icons for this scroll in 3 different sizes. But I'm going to try and make a shortcut and see if any of these scrolls would serve our purpose. So these scrolls here aren't tied to a specific, see, there's no spell imposed on them, or even this one. Now we get into the individual spell scrolls. See, this is what I wanted to avoid. There's like dozens of them here, and I don't want that. So let's just see how this works. So I'm going to select the bookend scroll parchment C open whatever. I'm gonna set that, and I guess that's it. Let's save that root template. Wait for that to finish, and then go back in game. This is where I may need to reload again. Definitely. Let's Control R. See if that did the trick. Oh. Okay. So let's see if the scroll has. It seems once the scroll has updated, or been created, it doesn't recognize that it has a new icon. We, however, have a fix for that, so we're going to take this scroll and we're just going to drop it in our bag of Devouring, because that's exactly what the purpose of this is, and then we wait for it to go away, and then we're going to spawn a new one. It's really like waiting for the kettle to boil the water, even if it's only 5 turns. I actually considered increasing it to 10 turns, but I'm going to leave it at 5 turns for now. Okay. So with that out of the way, we will summon another scroll for Karlak. And then we're going to pick it up. And here we go. Look at that. So it now doesn't look like a traditional spell scroll, which is good because this is a legendary scroll, right? And it doesn't have anything specific tied to it, so it doesn't look like it's casting Goodberry anymore, because it's not. It's since it's already an icon that is in game, it will also work for controller. I can't be bothered to go through that fight right now, but I can assure you it would be. And if it still works, which I have no reason to think it won't, then we're all set. So perfect. I'm happy with this. If somebody has, I'm sure there's going to be some people watching this who has actual graphical design abilities, and who will say, why don't you just make a new icon? It's so easy. You can just, yeah, that's fine. I'm open to contributions, because I just can't be bothered right now. I think this is good enough. And the other benefit is that this scroll is easily distinguishable from other spell scrolls in the game, because it doesn't quite look like them, but it still does look like a scroll, and it does what we want. So I'm happy with that, and that's the end of it. And now it's time for some finishing touches. There's a few things I want to be doing. One is I would like to make it clear that the scroll won't consume when used. And I think, is that in the lore? Not the lore description. So what I sometimes do is I just put some information in there, save that, just to see where it shows up in game, because it's not always clear. There's so many. There's alchemy description and all kinds of descriptions. Let's see where this specifically shows. Okay, so it says lore description here. Okay, this works. So what we can do is make clear that this legendary scroll is not consumed on use. Let's see what that looks like. So, come on. Why does saving take so long? I never quite understood that. There we go. So, okay. So now it's definitely pointing out this is not going to be consumed. You're free to use it, and that's fine. Okay. So that was one thing. Another thing I had in mind is if I can prevent accidentally selling this. And I did at some point. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, I think it was here. In here, it's part of, so it's a book, scroll, and shop trigger for sale. My idea is that, okay, so these are inherited from root. So, okay, so shop trigger for sale and shop trigger block for sale. block for sale definitely sounds like something I want. So this is going to be a little bit more difficult to test in the toolkit because I'm not aware of any way to get a vendor to spawn. So we're going to have to test that in game. But for now, I'm setting this shop trigger block for sale. So in theory and hopefully in reality, this now means that you won't accidentally sell this scroll. So once you have it on you, it will forever be with you until you drop it, or you put it in a bag of Devouring, and then it will be gone forever. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, that takes care of that. Then the last thing is, well, not the last thing, but definitely one thing I wanted to address is the fact that when we use this scroll, we still get a little good berry up here, and I'm happy with the rest, that's fine, but I don't want a good berry to appear over the target's head. So let's see if we can figure out how that works. And for that, we are going to need, let me just close these down. We have our target spell, bag of Devouring. So in here, we are going to look at the effects. Now I have previously done a video about how VFX is tied up, so if you're unfamiliar with that, go back and watch that. But I am after the target effect, so let's see if we can find out how that is wired up. It is likely a multi-effect. So here we go, let's see if we can find it. Shared, spelled it. Okay, so good berry target effect. And let's see what we have here. Oh, that's nice UI right there. It shows that you can drag this, but then obviously it doesn't work. Okay, so we have okay. So what I'm looking at here is we have overhead effects and we have body effects. Now, I would guess that the overhead effects is in fact the good berry because we see that appearing overhead, and the body effects is the one we're happy with. So let's see if I'm right about that. Let's call this up, and then let's take a look here. Yeah. So this is not extremely visible. It's very small here, but that is a little good berry. So this is in essence the part of the effect I don't want, and the rest is fine. So let's see. I've never actually tried this, but just as a full recap, we have target effect here set to the multi-effect, and the multi-effect good berry target effect spawns these two sets of VFX. Now I'm thinking, why can't I just maybe copy the one that I want? This might not work. There might be some people out there just laughing, saying, "Oh my God, you're too optimistic." How? Oh, okay. Well, I can definitely not copy it like that. So I'm going to try and copy this. I'm trying to avoid creating a new multi-effect that only has one effect, because that seems like counterintuitive to me. So okay, so it has to be multi-effects that are selected here. Okay, fine. So we reset that back, and then we are going to have to make our own multi-effect that is a copy of this. So I noticed, by the way, in my icon video, no, not icon, VFX video, I also did this operation, and it seems there's a potential trap here. because I did this clone selected item. Now, so to me, the word clone is very clear. It basically clones something, which means it makes a copy of it, and everybody is happy. But that's not necessarily how it works. However, bag of devouring target effect. Now we're creating our own. And then this pops up, move effect, which does not exactly do. So move effect, yeah, I'm sorry for hesitating a bit here because the UI here is, I mean, seriously. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna move it here, and that's fine. Notice how it has now done something with the shared mod, which should not be possible because that's a read-only mod. However, this is the reality we find ourselves in. And I don't know exactly why that is. So possibly I'm using the UI wrong here, or maybe the UI is wrong. I guess that's the debate. However, once the tool wakes up here, there we go. And default, I now have the bag of devouring target effect. Now I'm going to save that effect in the selected project. So I'm going to select bag of devouring, that is my project. I'm going to save that. And I remember when I did the other video, I was like, what's going on? See, this is not saved, and I'm not going to save this because I don't know what it has changed here. You're not supposed to be able to change shared. So it's complaining that there are unsaved changes, and these are the ones in shared. Last time I dodged the bullet because I selected no, because I didn't know why it was popping this, and that's definitely what you should be doing, because we don't want to modify shared. So I'm going to say, no, I do not want to save them. And then I'm going to open the tool again. So now shared is back to whatever state it was. And I can now go to the bag of devouring, our mod. Hello, there we go. I also don't know why this editor is so slow. And then I am simply going to take the overhead and get rid of it. Yep. And then I'm going to save that again. And then copy the name, bag of devouring target effect. And then go back here. And then select it here. So now, fingers crossed, we should have a summoned bag of devouring that doesn't spawn a good berry over the head of the target. Now, usual disclaimers apply. I may very well need to reload the editor. I will, however, start by just reloading game, so Control R. And then let's see if this works. So Karlak, and it worked. No good berry, and the rest just stays the same, which is what we want. And now I have plenty of bags of devouring. Actually, why do I have 3? Oh, maybe there was one in the inventory. Oh yeah, okay, so I managed to exit game mode when this hadn't disappeared, so now it's perpetually stuck. Let's just drop that in there and then wait for this one to disappear. There we go. Okay, so we have mission complete. or at least so far as I intended to take it. We can spawn a bag of Devouring. It stays for 5 turns. And that's basically it. Except, of course, that it isn't. I was watching the replay of the final recording, or the last recording I did, and I realized that there's actually more good berry nonsense. Notice here, Karlach with a good berry, and then she cast it. There's nothing going on, and nothing above the target either. So it seems that the prepare effect also has some good berry in it, and now that I've seen it, that's simply unacceptable. So let's do something about that. That's going to be a rerun of what we just did. So out here, we are going to find the prepare effect. No, not cut. That wasn't what I wanted. Copy. And then back to the VFX editor, or the multi-effect tool. Come on. And then let's find the prepare effect. So let's see, hand. No, this is the one. Yeah, we see her. There's a good berry in front of Karlach here. This is what we want to get rid of. So I see there's an enabled flag here. Maybe that's better than deleting, but again, I'm in the shared mod, so it's not gonna. We needed move to own mod. I'm gonna go through the same process. We're gonna clone, and then bag of devouring prepare effect. Then again, it pops this move effect that doesn't fill me with any kind of confidence, but we're going to do that. And again, we have the shared mod now showing that it has been changed, but we're going to go down here to bag of devouring, default, and then the prepare effect is new. So let's just try that. Instead of deleting it, let's learn something today. So now it's disabled. We go back here, we save in selected project, we close because we don't want to modify shared, and then we need to go in here, bag of devouring. Oh, so it hasn't updated this yet. So open the multi-effect tool. Okay, so the prepare effect is there. Copy name, back to stats. Then we find our prepare effect. There we go. So now we have our own prepare effect. The cast stays the same, and then our own target effect. Let's see how that works. So we save that. We close the stats editor, go back in game, and then look at that. So now there's no good berry. You could argue maybe it looks a bit silly that she's standing about. I don't know how to make the VFX that would make it look like a little bag. Maybe that's a story for a later video. but let's just see. There we go. We have a bag of Devouring. Yeah, I have several of them because again. So there we go. And now we're done with this. Now we can just go take care of a few last minute details and then round this off. And what last minute details are that? Well, so I know I said at the beginning of the video I would be talking about one-time rewards, but actually I've changed my mind on that because the video is running very long. So I'll just round this off because I'm ready to publish this mod. All it needs now is to appear in the tutorial chest treasure table. And we know how to do that, but let's just go through it once again. So we go into Stats Editor, Treasure Table. We create a treasure table. And then we need the tutorial chest potions. And we need 1,1 here. The treasure would be I underscore, and now I can't remember. So we need our scroll. So we copy that, go back to the treasure table, I underscore, Ohfor bag of Devouring scroll. It should appear every time. So that should be all we need to make sure that the scroll appears in game where we expect. Now, just to return to the point of one-time rewards, etc. One of the, if not the next, then one of the next videos I'll be making would be about more advanced uses of the treasure table, which also will include other means you can use to distribute items into your game by putting them for sale at vendors, using one-time rewards. So there's just a group of things that all relate to that, so it makes sense to have all of that in one video on its own. So I do apologize for for mentioning that, but it's going to come up in 1 or 2 videos from now, how that works. So I'm going to save that, and then a good thing to test at this point is to just go in game one last time, and let's see. So we're fine. I am actually going to cast a spell, and then I'm going to drop this in here, and then when this bag despawns, we are back to nothing. We don't know the spell, we don't know of the spell, and there we go. There is a command. I've never used it, but it seems to make sense. There is a give treasure command, and then we'll do chest potions, and then we'll highlight Karlach and see how that goes. Because that's essentially how you can test a treasure table like that. And it did look promising because Karlach did get the bag of Devouring, or the scroll of summon bag of Devouring, and hopefully this works as expected. And it does. So all that's left to do now is to publish the mod locally, which we've already covered, and then get in game and just make sure everything works. So you don't have to wait for that. Let me just quickly pause the video and then we'll see. So coming up on the tutorial chest here, I realize already that I've made a terrible mistake. The treasure table I did didn't specify append So I think we'll see now. Yeah, I've cleared the chest of anything other than my scroll of Summon Bag of Devouring. Don't ever publish a mod like this. You'll get in a lot of trouble. So that obviously needs to be fixed. However, the scroll did appear, and it does work as expected. So that's good. We have there Bag of Devouring, and all we need to do now is just fix it so the treasure table doesn't block out everybody else who's been putting stuff into the tutorial chest. So let's quickly do that. So back in the toolkit, fortunately it's a relatively easy fix. Not entirely sure why the UI is giving us such a hard time. Okay. Anyway, into the stats editor and back to our treasure table. And then of course this one, I do believe the first time I mentioned this, I said always, always, always make sure to set this, and then of course I forget. There we go. Make sure you set this, especially, I mean, if you control, if it's your own bag or whatever, that's your business. But if you're messing with the shared resource of the tutorial chest potions, you definitely don't want to clear it, because many mods drop their stuff into there. So I'll be saving that, and then we're good to go. So I hope you enjoyed this extended video. I know both videos on this mod is longer than normal. I just felt it would be a good idea just to summarize, because everything I've been doing in this mod, except maybe the spell scroll, but it should be fairly intuitive to follow, covers, uses things that has been covered in videos prior to this, and there's nothing stopping anyone who's been following this series from doing something similar. I wouldn't necessarily suggest to make another bag of Devouring, but you get the idea. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'll return to more normal form after this video, and we'll be diving into one-time rewards. We might soon also start covering scripting, which is a very complicated subject, treasure tables, vendors, and then I'm slowly working up the courage to open the can of worms that is creating new classes and subclasses. I know people have been asking for it, and it's so the reason I haven't covered that yet, I mean, there are more reasons. One of them being it's a lot of work. There's many things involved in that. But what good is a new class or new subclass if you can't make your own spells for it, your own VFX, maybe some custom armor, whatever. There's many things that go into creating a viable class, and that's why I wanted to have all these other videos in place beforehand. Otherwise, I would need to stop every 2 minutes and say, okay, so if you want to make your own spell, go through this, etc. So it makes sense that the class and subclasses come rather late in the series, but they are coming up in not too long. I do promise that. But until next time, have fun modding.